In this episode, Ozzy Osbourne, Humble Pie, Casino and Deep Purple.
Welcome to a brand new series here then on Crushed Custard. This is new, live and rare. Now I've mentioned this before. What we're going to be doing in this little series, which is going to run for I think about 6 episodes, is we're going to feature a new album. Now when we say new, we mean new in the world of custard. Now in the world of custard, that doesn't mean it came out yesterday. It means it came out in the last year or so. The most recent release by that artist, more than likely, as we're not quite as young and nimble on our feet as we used to be, racing down the record shops to buy records on the day they came out. So that'll be the new album. The live album will quite obviously be what it says on the tin. It'll be a live album. And then the third album will be a rare album. And when we say rare, that'll be just down to me or the man in the attic to decide something from our collection that we think is a little bit scarce, a little bit different, hard to get hold of, or whatever. And that will make up the 3 albums then. So we're kicking off today on this first episode with an album which has got a cast of thousands in many ways, but it's really all about one person. And to cut straight to the chase, it's this: Ozzy Osbourne, Patient Number 9, his most recent album that came out at the back end of last year. Now, when I say there's a cast of thousands on this, there really is. I mean, there are about half a dozen guitar players. Eric Clapton's on it, Jeff Beck's on it. There's all sorts of people on this. You've also got 13 violinists, 4 viola players, and 3 cellists on this as well. And it's almost as much an Andrew Watt album as it is an Ozzy Osbourne album, because he does everything. He's playing the guitars, he's playing the bass, he's playing the keyboards, he's doing the production, he's doing all sorts. The other thing about it is it's come out in about 74 different versions, which is how come I've ended up with one, because my mate Harvey down the local pub, who we have a constant teasing sort of battle about Black Sabbath versus Deep Purple and all that sort of stuff. He, of course, being an avid Ozzy Osbourne collector, ordered himself about 72 copies of this, all different colours and different whatever, and I think he must have got one too many because he decided to give me this one, which was very kind of him. So thank you very much, Harvey. I don't think I have to put it down as a paid promotion though, so I think we're okay. The other thing that's interesting, and I don't know why this is, the CD version starts off with the title track. The LP version, the vinyl version, doesn't. It starts off with the second track on the CD, which is Immortal. Now, I can't find any reason really for that, because it's got the same first 3 tracks that are on the CD are on the vinyl, so it's not to do with timings. I'll be interested to know what anybody thinks about that, whether they thought maybe because Patient Number 9 is a particularly long track, talking about 7.5, 8 minutes or something, and the other 2 are quite short, maybe they thought on the vinyl side 2 really short tracks after one long one wasn't such a good idea, whereas on the CD it wouldn't matter so much because you hadn't got to get up and turn the record up. I don't know. I've got no idea why that is, but it's another one of those little quirks. There's another little quirk as well, which I found out about recently, is if you've got the red and, I think it's either a red and white or a red and clear vinyl swirl version of this album, you actually haven't got this album at all. You've got side 1 of this album, but then you've got his 1980s solo album Blizzard of Oz on the other side, which is bizarre. I presume some people may have taken it back, other people have probably stashed it away as a collectible. So if you've bought a load of copies, because I know a lot of people do, they buy one of each colour and all that sort of stuff, it's worth checking to see if you've got one of the ones that's got the second side of Blizzard of Oz on side 2 instead of what it should have on here. And if you haven't got side 2 of this, you're missing out on quite a lot. Now, I'm not going to go through each track bit by bit. I'm just going to maybe pick out the sort of highlights. Now, as I said, the title track is the opening track on the CD. On the LP, it isn't. It's the second track. And it's got Jeff Beck on it. And probably going to be, if you think about it, one of the last things that Jeff Beck recorded, sadly. But it's wonderful. I mean, this album, Harvey gave it to me the back end of last year, and I said to him, well, I'll do a review of it at some point. The reason I haven't done one before is because it's like peeling an onion, if you like. You keep finding a little bit more in it, and if I'm 100% honest, I didn't think I was going to think it was all that brilliant, because I thought, oh, here we go, all this silly Prince of Darkness nonsense and all that sort of stuff. Has Ozzy Osbourne just become a caricature of himself and all that type of thing? But no, this is good. The vocals are good. No, yeah, they've probably been auto-tuned, but so what? So's everybody else doing it. There's a lot of people on here, musicians helping him out and doing stuff and whatever, and making it an all-round pretty good, tight, sort of professional sounding thing, and it works. It really is good. If you're a fan of Ozzy Osbourne, it is worth getting a little bits of it that remind you of Black Sabbath. There's some Planet Caravan-esque vocal things in there where they've put that effect on the vocals as well. There's other bits where you think, well, actually, this is quite sort of radio-friendly hook stuff. This could be from Blizzard of Oz time. And then there's other parts of it where it's real sort of heavy stuff. It's got a little bit of everything, but it's better than I thought it was going to be, is the best thing I can say. And I thought it would be okay, but I didn't think it'd be the sort of album I'd be thinking, I need to play that again. I haven't followed it yet. That's how good I've found it. The Jeff Beck tracks obviously are brilliant. A couple of tracks with the orchestras on, with the violin players and stuff, they're great. So the Eric Clapton song, I mean, you wouldn't think that would work with Eric Clapton and Ozzy Osbourne, but it does. It's great. And then of course you've got the couple of Tony Iommi tracks on there as well, which is just nice. You've got that sort of Sabbath feel to them. I suppose it's nice to see Ozzy and Tony Iommi playing together again. If I've got criticisms of it, I think it's a little too long, to be fair. It clocks in at 61 minutes, I think. By the time we got to side 4, I was starting to think maybe I've had enough now. Although that side does kick off with one of the Tony Iommi tracks, and that is a bit of a belter, Degradation Rules. But after that, you're thinking, well, I must admit, sometimes I'll play the side A and B, and then another day I'll play the side C and D. So it's almost like complaining that you're getting too much good stuff, isn't it? But it's good. Maybe it's a little bit too long. It's a lot better. I thought it was. The vocals stand up. It's everything you'd expect from an Ozzy Osbourne album, but with Jeff Beck on it as well. And it's not just Jeff Beck turning up because he felt like it. He's playing some pretty decent stuff on it, and so is everybody else. It really is a good. I can't really say enough how surprised I was at how good this was. I wasn't expecting it to be rubbish, but I was just expecting it to be, it's another Ozzy album. If I play Ozzy Osbourne, I play the first 2 Sabbath albums, or I play Blizzard of Oz usually. This, I've probably played more than everything he's put out since the Blizzard of Oz combined since. It really is good. It's worth getting hold of, and you can take your pick which version you get as well, because it's out on every coloured vinyl under the sun. It's got swirly patterns, it's got spotted patterns, it's got all sorts of stuff. My version that Harvey gave me is a clear vinyl one, which looks really nice. It's got a nice cover, as you can see, with interesting little picture effect inside. Plus, you've also got a lyric sheet with all sorts of info about who's playing what, which you will need because there's a lot of people on this. You're also going to need that magnifying glass that I used a couple of episodes ago, because the writing is very, very small. And this one came with a free turntable mat as well, which some people might like to use. Personally, I've got an acrylic mat, so I don't need a mat, but it's a nice little thing to put in there. So there you go then. That's the first album in the new series of New, Live and Rare. I know people are going to say, well, it's not new, it came out in 2022. In the world of custard, 2022 is new.
The Man in the Attic.
Hello there.
from the man in the attic. Welcome. The album I've picked for you is one of my very favourite, not only one of my very favourite live albums, but one of my very favourite albums in total. Is it made in Japan? No, it's not. It is, in fact, this one. Humble Pie's Performance, Rockin' the Fillmore. Now, this is a good old-fashioned double live album. There we go. That's the inner gatefold, and there's the rear. And what an album it is. This is a document of a band really at the top of their game as a live band. The lineup of the band at that time was the amazing Steve Marriott on vocals and guitar, and Peter Frampton on vocals and guitar, both of them terrific guitar players. Frampton probably known more for his guitar playing, but let me tell you, Steve Marriott's no slouch. I used to go and see him back in the late 80s and early 90s with his band, Packet of Three, at the Half Moon in Putney, and you were always ensured a terrific show, and he still had the voice. The voice was still in terrific form. Sadly, in the early 90s, he passed away in a house fire, and is sadly missed. And completing the lineup of the band on this terrific album was on bass and vocals Greg Ridley, who was in Spooky Tooth, I think, at one time, and Jerry Shirley on drums. And what an album it is. It's beautifully recorded, fantastic live sound. You can hear everything perfectly clearly. And it was recorded over 2 days. They did 4 shows over 2 days at the Fillmore East in New York on the 28th and 29th of May 1971. There was an afternoon and evening performance each day, and as with Deep Purple's Made in Japan, the best versions, or what was felt by those putting the album out to be the best versions of each song, were chosen to be put on this terrific album. This is a quite early on pressing. It's on the proper old gold A&M label, and for me it's an essential album to have if you're a fan of good live albums. What do we get on it? Well, we get 7 tracks, much like Made in Japan. 7 tracks. On side 1 there are 3. Track 1 being called 4 Day Creep, that's credited as written by Ida Cox. You've got number 2 on side 1, I'm Ready, which is down as Humble Pie, words by Willie Dixon. So maybe it's just that they've adapted it a bit, and maybe there's a little bit of a Led Zeppelin kind of effort there. You know, a lot of Led Zeppelin songs weren't exactly original. And on track 3, on side 1, you've got the only Humble Pie composition on the album, Stone Cold Fever. Side 1 lasts for about 23 minutes. On side 2, you've got the mammoth I Walk on Gilded Splinters. This lasts for 24 minutes and 30 seconds. The Pie, let me tell you, knew how to jam. They knew how to jam. They were a phenomenally good live band. If you listened to their studio output, it was a lot more varied. Some very gentle acoustic tracks, but on this, they rock like crazy. But they could jam, and they extended things out, much like Deep Purple used to do, much like The Who used to do with certain songs. And they were every bit as good. Every bit as good as those bands. For me, and this is going to be blasphemous to some people, this is up there with Made in Japan for me, right up there. On side 3 we've got Rolling Stone, which is the only track on that side, and that weighs in at 16 minutes and 10 seconds. And on side 4 we've got Hallelujah, I Love Her So, a Ray Charles song, and I Don't Need No Doctor. Well, to say that's one of the most classic live tracks ever, with that great "We Go Home on Monday, It's Been a Gas" intro to it. If you've never heard it, please do. I might ask. Martin, if he can put in the link down below here, a link to I Don't Need No Doctor from this album. The Pie were a band that played lots and lots and lots of gigs, and boy does it tell, they were as tight as anything on this, as tight as anything. And if you've got any of their studio albums, the studio albums are great. The album that preceded this, Rock On the back of this, because this went gold as an album in the States, and that stirred sales for Rock On, which is an equally good album. And that went gold as well. This was a top 40 album in the UK. So, yeah, a good seller for them. Probably their best-selling album ever. And they are all great musicians. The three guys who sing, Marriott, well, I mean, yeah, we all know about how good his vocals are. Peter Frampton, no slouch as a singer. And Greg Ridley as well, let me tell you. The boy could sing. And what a phenomenal bass player. And Jerry Shirley, powerful, tight, great sound. The beautifully recorded this album, beautifully recorded, as well recorded as Live at Leeds and Made in Japan, I would say. In 2013, if you wanted to get a complete picture of the whole 2 days, there was a company, I think they're called Omnivore Records, released the 4 CD box set of all 4 gigs, so you could go through it and compare it. But let me say, if you just needed this, you can get this as a standalone CD. If you've never heard it, I can't recommend it highly enough. It really is one of my favourites. Phenomenally well recorded, terrifically played, and I would highly recommend it. Yeah, go for it. If you've never heard it before, just check it out. It is live rock music at its absolute best. So that's my first look at a live album for this new kind of series. I hope you've enjoyed it. Go for the Pie album. Yes, it really is as good as I say. I'd stake my reputation on it. And yeah, we'll see you again soon. So take care, everyone, and be careful out there.
So, onto the Rare album then. So the Rare album today is, well, I don't know whether it's all that rare, but it's not an album that I'd come across until recently. Anyway, it came out in 1975. I think it had a little bit of a minor hit single on it as well, I think, but it's this. It's a band called Casino. And there's the front of the album. And there's the back, so you can see they're a pretty standard looking bunch of 70s musos. Now, the thing with this album is when I put it on, I immediately get transported to 1978, 1979 with that sort of sound of sort of guitar-based pop band type thing, with a sort of radio friendly, if you like, nice melodies, nice sort of, almost the sort of thing where, you know, punk had had its 5 minutes and it fizzled out, and a lot of the bands that proclaimed to be punk just ended up being pop bands in the end of their, like Blondie and things like that. But then I looked at this again, and it came out in 1975, so thinking that these lot must have been a little bit more forward thinking that a lot of people would be giving them credit for, because it does sound like an album that's come out after the punk thing rather than one that's come out just before. I know a lot of people are probably thinking, what's he waffling on about now? But if you think about bands like Sniff of the Tears, bands like Runner that we spoke about a few weeks ago, bands like Sad Cafe, even to a certain degree the first couple of Dire Straits albums, they got a certain sound about them when you knew that they'd come out in 1979, didn't you? 1979, that sort of thing where it was proper musicians again, playing the instruments that they could play, not standing there shouting and spitting and making a racket. It was proper musicians playing proper music. And when this, of course, came out, we were still right in the middle of the tail end, if you like, of the sort of, extravagances of prog rock and also smack bang in the nonsense of all the glam rock stuff. But this lot were already, for me, in 1978. Now, okay, who are this lot? Well, this lot are predominantly a chap called Peter O'Donnell. Now, I'm guessing he's this one in the middle here. Where the right is. Anyway, as I like to do when I get albums like this, with it full of people who I've never really heard of, I like to try and track them down and find out what else they've done. What other albums this band have done. This band hasn't done any other albums at all. This is it. Some of them were in other bands as well, but I couldn't find out a great deal about them. I ended up getting my information through the Musicians' Union, would you believe? And it transpires that this Peter O'Donnell chap, after this, I don't know how many years after this, had a 12-year residency at the Ritz. Yeah, the Ritz. Playing like bluesy music, I suppose, which is, having now found a website of him, which is what he predominantly likes to play. And on the day before I'm recording this, he was playing in a pub in Rye, I think, where he plays quite regularly. Now, I'm pretty sure that we've got a member of the Custard subscribers who's from there, so I'd be interested if they ever got to go and see him. So, anyway, what is this album like? It's really, really good. It's if you like those bands that I've been talking about before, those sort of late 70s pop bands that have got good songs, well sung, well written, well put together, choruses that stick in your head, then this is going to be right up your street. It's really good. I mean, the second track is called Crazy. Now that was released as a single, and I think it might have been a bit of a minor hit, and it's a pretty good track. There's another track on it there, Romancer. I'm a romancer, not a dancer, or something, with the lyric, and it's just he's really good. There's another one. Oh, crikey, I'm gonna try and remember what the lyric is from when I played it earlier. It's so I mean there really is some great sort of hooks and stuff on this. As I said, there was the track Romancer, I'm a dancer, not a romancer, I'm a romancer, not a dancer, should I say. That's just got this tremendous little melody going through it, which will just stay in your head for a long time. And then there's the track Shooting Star. I was talking about the lyric, and there's a line that goes, I ain't joking, fish face, get out of this place, or something. It's just, the album is full of that. It's full of clever little lyrics, clever little couplets and stuff. On occasions, I thought the singing sounded a little bit like Bon Scott out of AC/DC. On another occasion, I was thrown towards early Genesis storytelling type stuff. So it's a really great album. And then you go on to side two as well. There's a track there called There's a Cuckoo in Your Nest. That, again, has got a brilliant hook. There are about 3 or 4 tracks on it, which I would have thought would have been great radio tracks for the 70s. But Crazy was the one that came out as a single. The band seemed to do sort of nothing and just disappeared after this one album, as I said. And Peter O'Donnell went on to a 12-year residency at the Ritz. He's still making albums now, I think, selling them on his own website and all that sort of stuff, bluesy stuff, where he's playing with a few mates. As I said before, I think you can see him at a place in Rye quite regularly, and he also, as well, performs as a Rod Stewart. What do you call them? A Rod Stewart tribute act called Odd Stewart. So that might be worth as well. So one of the things that I sort of want to highlight from this sort of album is that it is possible, and I know quite a few people, so I know it's possible. I don't know this chap, but you can make a lifelong career out of music without being a superstar, without necessarily being the richest man on the planet or having everybody recognise you when you walk down the road. Perfect example. This bloke made this album in 1975. I think it's great. I've never heard anybody talk about it. So he's obviously died without a trace, really. But he didn't give up. 12-year residency at the Ritz. He's still playing today. He's obviously loves doing it. And he's obviously still making a living out of it, I would have thought, as well. Well, so it's great that there are people like that that can do that, and they're the sort of people that need supporting, and they're the sort of people that you need to go and see as well. When it's like 5, 10, 15 quid or whatever to go and see somebody at a local club, that's better use of your money, in my opinion. I'm only expecting people to do than forking out 200 quid to go and see Elton John or something. Because anyway, that's it. But this is the Rare album from the first episode of New Live and Rare. I'll be interested to know how many people have heard it, how many people maybe remember the single off it. I looked for ages to try and find a link so I could put some tracks on. Eventually I found one. It's only had about a couple of hundred views over the few years it's been up. So it would be nice if we could get some people to listen to this album. And it's one of those ones that's probably more scarce than valuable, if you know what I mean. But you can see a copy of this, snap it up, because it is a really good album. So, a bit of a bonus then for this first episode. Now, the name New Live and Rare, where did that come from? Well, obviously it came from the Deep Purple set of EPs that came out the back end of the 70s, and I think the third one came out just in early 1980, which were basically 3-track EPs. One was new, one was live, one was rare. So that's the sort of thing that we're doing. However, there was another New Live and Rare, which maybe some of you might not be aware of. There was an album that came out only in Japan, and it was this one. There it is, New Live and Rare, Deep Purple. That came out in Japan only. It's a great cover. I really like the cover. The back cover is quite nice as well, in a sort of artistic sort of way. Now, what's it got on it? This is a really interesting album. Now, at the time when I bought it, it was quite important because it got some stuff on it that you couldn't really get many other places. Some of it you couldn't really get anywhere. The main reasoning behind that is it's got the 3 tracks which were recorded by Deep Purple before the concerto. When they performed the concerto, they did a short Deep Purple set. And they played Hush, and they played Child in Time, and they played Ring That Neck. And those 3 live tracks are on this album. They're split apart, which I don't understand why they've done that, but not instead of putting them all together. Of course, now they're available on the sort of remastered version of the concerto and all that. But at the time, they weren't. So they were pretty good copies to get. A really early, of course, version of Child in Time from 1969. So they're worth the money, the entrance money on their own. The other tracks on there as well, well, you've got Painted Horse, which was left off the Who Do We Think We Are album. That's a track which is unlike most Deep Purple tracks. Ian Gillan's vocal is done in a slightly different way. He also plays the harmonica on it. I think it's a great track, and it would have been okay on Who Do We Think We Are. Apparently Richie Blackmore hated it and thought it didn't fit. Maybe you could argue that it doesn't necessarily sound like this, but I think it would have been a much better track to put on there than maybe Place in Line, which is a bit of a plotting blues track. So anyway, that's on there. Also Cry Free, which was left off the Deep Purple in Rock album. There were some suggestions that was considered at one point to be a follow-up single to Black Knight. That never happened, and it never got put on the album either. But it's a great track. It's available on lots of compilations now. But at the time, this was probably the only place you could get it. So it was worth grabbing hold of for that alone. I'm thinking this must have been about 1982 or something when this came out. It's also got a version of Strange Kind of Woman on there as well. The B-side of the track was left off Machine Head, When a Blind Man Cries. Again, you can only really get that at this point. On maybe the singles A's and B's album was already out, and you can obviously get it on the B-side. But in a nice album package, it was worth getting. And the other track is I'm Alone, which was the B-side of Strange Kind of Woman, I do believe. So it's a good album. This is as compilations go, and at the time, it was a lot of stuff that wasn't really available anywhere else. It was worth getting. It's Japanese only. I bought it from I think I bought it from Revolver in Leicester on a trip to there one day, and it's a very nice album. It's got the old Japanese sheet and all that sort of stuff in there, so pretty good stuff. So that's where we got the name from, New, Live and Rare. The second episode will be following hot on the heels of this one. I would hope this one did take a little bit of time to get out, but hopefully we'll be getting things back on track in the next few weeks, and we'll see you for the next episode of New, Live and Rare.
Thanks for watching. Please press the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed this video. We hope to see you again soon.